A fair-haired young man lies on the ground in a pool of his own blood, with only one thought running through his head. Is he dead? The next moment, when the boy's eyes open again, his body no longer looks human. Looking at his hands, the guy no longer sees skin, but only rough scales and sharp claws. Behind the young man's back, there is now a huge tail with teeth on it. The action moves to the school sports field. A young man with snow-white hair and gray eyes stands, not taking his eyes off the pull-up bar. The blonde jumps on him, grabbing him tightly with his palms. However, the guy's body immediately begins to tremble from overexertion. Classmates start laughing at this sight. The sweaty guy presses his lips together and counts 8 seconds to himself. No longer able to hold on, the young man falls to the ground. The rest only laugh harder at the blonde man, calling him an 8-second man. The guy's name is Liam Yoon. He was very sick as a child, and when he recovered, he became physically very weak, one of the 5 outcasts. The coach covers his face with his hand in disappointment and tells Liam that he needs to work harder because he needs to earn points to pass the exam. After school, the hero goes to see Uncle Van, picking up a parcel from his father. Digging through the parcel, the boy remembers the past, when his father went to the southern part of the country, since the family once took a large sum of money for treatment. In the box, Liam discovers a detailed figurine of a monster. In the box, besides the figurine, there is a note from the father. He calls the monster Harvest's brother and congratulates his son on his upcoming birthday. Smiling sweetly, Liam says that he also wants to be an invincible little monster, but it is a difficult task. Someone's hand roughly grabs the figurine, removing it from the box. The tall, muscular student lifts the toy above his head, mocking the blonde boy for still playing with toys. Liam tries to get the monster back, but the student's hands are too high for the guy's height. The bully makes a face and smirks at the ugly duckling for daring to resist him. A student assumes a basketball shooting position and throws Liam's father's gift. The guy doesn't manage to catch the figurine, and it falls hard to the ground. Liam runs to get the gift, ignoring the mockery and laughter of the students behind him. When the young man has almost reached his goal, a huge truck flies towards him, not having time to brake. The hooligans are afraid for the guy and shout at him to quickly get out of the way. The driver's eyes widen, and he starts turning the steering wheel in panic. Drops of blood, a torn bag, and a figurine fly off from the collision with the truck, and everything plunges into darkness. The boy looks at his short legs, wondering why he is still alive. Liam starts looking around and thinks that this is the afterlife, but he is confused that it is in the sea. A software creature named Sally appears before the hero, calls the young man master, and connects him to the system of evolution into a monster. The newly minted monster is very frightened by the appearance of an unknown creature. Having calmed down a little, Liam asks Sally about the evolution system he entered. Sally brings up a software window with instructions for the system in front of the monster's eyes. The creature begins to tell the owner that he is a descendant of the divine beast Kui, but is now only in the early stages of growing up. The hero asks if he can log in every day to collect rewards and use points to upgrade. The young man looks at his paws and at the system, asking himself if he has been reborn and who he is now. Almost in tears, Liam screams that this simply couldn't happen, or it was just a dream. The hero decides to swim a little and begins to think that if this is a dream, then why do the movements of the tail seem so real? Having stopped thinking about it, the monster says that he wants to enter the system, to which the creature happily fulfills the master's wish. Notifications about successful login to the system begin to arrive, and the registration location is set to the Mariinsky Trench. The hero is given a login reward, which is an S+ level skill, Absorption, which turns food into evolution points. While thinking about food, Liam's stomach begins to rumble loudly, demanding food from his owner. The monster begins to pound his stomach, wondering why he feels like he's going to die if he doesn't eat. After thinking, the hero decides to head towards the light that many creatures emit. However, the guy stumbles upon a lanternfish, which opens its huge mouth with a lot of sharp teeth. Liam looks at the fish with disgust and says that in real life it looks even worse than in the photos on the internet. The lanternfish, instead of bloodthirstiness, radiates only fear, and therefore swims around the main character, wanting to quickly hide. The system reassures the young man, saying that this creature is smaller than the hero's paw. Liam's bloodthirsty smile spreads as he watches the fish swim away with relish. The lanternfish gets very scared when the monster's heavy tail flies at it at high speed. The hero's tail kills the fish, and its flashlight no longer flickers with a bright light. Liam looks at the fish in shock, asking the system if he will get evolution points if he eats the creature. The hologram answers in the affirmative. The guy takes the creature with his fingertips in disgust and says that the fish doesn't look appetizing, but he's already eaten it. The young man throws the lanternfish whole into his mouth and immediately receives a notification that he has been awarded 5 points and the ability to light up. Liam strains his arm, feeling a surge of power from the evolution points he's gained. The protagonist activates the lighting skill, and the monster's spikes begin to glow with a bright blue light. The boy happily begins to eat small fish, which were attracted by the light from the growths on the young man's back. With his belly full, the monster exhales happily and says that he now wants to start developing. Sally presents the hero with a list of things Liam can develop. The hero decides to first develop scales, claws, and body shape. His body begins to glow and transform. Liam thinks that since his height increased by almost a meter for 500 points, it won't be difficult to reach 100 meters. The monster decides to check with the system if he is currently in his world. Sally tells him that Liam should explore it himself. Looking at the system, which awkwardly looks away after its words, the young man wonders if this game is open world. The guy thinks that if there is a Mariana Trench in this world, then he is on Earth. And if he were in the city, people with missiles would attack him now. Liam knows he's still underdeveloped, so when he reaches the 100-meter mark, the rockets will feel like a back massage. Putting aside his thoughts, the monster continues to eat fish to accumulate evolution points. Large tentacles with suction cups on them appear behind the guy's back. The tentacles wrap around their prey, trying to prevent it from escaping. Liam sees the Lord of the Deep Sea in front of him. He realizes that the monster was here because of the glow of its spikes. The Lord continues to squeeze the young man tighter and tighter, and he realizes that his strength is not enough to get out of the tentacles on his own. A huge shadow of some other creature appears above the monsters. This creature turns out to be a sperm whale. Its body reaches 18 meters in length, and it is the largest toothed whale. The ruler's limbs slowly release the protagonist, and he begins to rejoice that the appearance of the whale saved him. The tentacles attack the whale's large body, trying to bind and thus immobilize it. The hero looks at them in shock and realizes that, compared to these monsters, he is still too small and weak. However, watching them fight, Liam decides that he will no longer hide and be afraid. Clenching his hand into a fist, the boy promises himself that now he will not run away from his fear. The young man furiously shouts into the distance that no one will dare to mock him again. Liam swims up to the Lord of the Deep Sea and bites one of his tentacles, saying that he will tear him to pieces. The main character greedily bites off the monster's skin. The guy starts to taste what the master tastes like and thinks that the taste is pretty good and similar to raw squid. The hero receives a system notification that he received 21 points after taking just one bite. The young man rejoices at this news and begins to absorb the monster at great speed. Finally, the creature realizes that its limbs are under attack. The monster grabs the offender, squeezing his body with anger. But the hero did not expect that the ruler would be distracted by him, and therefore shudders. The creature's actions do not frighten Liam, and he continues to eat it. The monster begins to get very angry at the hero's actions, and is finally distracted from the battle with the sperm whale. A large whale appears behind the ruler, smiling at the fact that the enemy has lost his vigilance. Now, not only are the monster's limbs eaten, but the sperm whale also begins to eat its head with its sharp teeth. Having eaten his fill, the character sighs happily, unable to move. The system sends a notification about the accrual of evolution points. The hero is happy that for the eaten half of the ruler, he was given as many as 300 points. The sperm whale swims up to Liam and begins to look at him bloodthirstily. The monster tenses his arms and asks the whale why he is looking at him so arrogantly and if he wants to fight him. Irritated by the hero's reaction, the whale decides to swim away and not waste time on him. Liam looks confidently at the swimming sperm whale and grins, saying that this time he will let it go for helping him eat. The boy tells Sally that he wants to spend his evolution points to become bigger, and his body begins to glow. Liam Yoon's body grows to 8 meters and now weighs 24 tons. For eating the Lord of the Deep Sea, the hero receives the monster's compass as a reward. Thanks to the compass, Liam will now be able to find out if there are monsters nearby and their location. A week later, the guy is now floating on the surface of the water. He complains that there are no big fish in the shallow water, and you can't get enough of white sharks. Liam is sad because he doesn't get as many evolution points from the Overlord anymore, and he's afraid to show himself to the hero. Sticking out his tongue, the young man reflects that if he continues to wander in the shallow waters, he will die of hunger. The guy decides to dive deep and heads to the Sea of Polar Islands. For entering, the hero monster gets a new skill, level S. Explosive Breath of the North, he smiles widely at the acquired one. The compass starts blinking and showing that there are a lot of monsters on the island, although there shouldn't be anyone on it. Having approached the island, the guy feels a strong current and thinks that if it weren't for his size of 30 meters in weight, he could have been carried away by it. Sharp claws cling to the hard surface of the mountain. When the hero climbs up, huge mountains of the island and tall trees rise up before him. Looking at the large flocks of monsters, Liam realizes that they are what the compass showed and says that survival on the island has begun. The monster takes a deep breath of fresh island air, happy to finally be completely on dry land. However, the guy stops enjoying the air when some monsters with wings start circling above his head. These creatures turn out to be pterosaurs. They look at the hero with hostility. The pterosaur flies rapidly towards its prey to attack. The monsters maneuver successfully, not giving their opponent a chance to rest, and they furiously hit him on the head with their pointed beaks. However, one of the pterosaurs is caught and its wing is bitten off. Liam enjoys eating the monster because it tastes like chicken and gets a bonus of 1,000 points for the pterosaur. The hero lifts his head in triumph and tells the other monsters that he finally has some variety in his food. Since the pterosaurs no longer dare to come down, the guy decides to use the North's explosive breath. The winged creatures widen their eyes as they see the energy that begins to accumulate in the hero's mouth. However, only a weak clot of energy in the form of a small flame comes out of the monster's mouth. Until recently, the frightened pterosaurs fly furiously towards the guy. Liam starts yelling at Sally for the fact that the explosive breath was no stronger than a regular lighter. The system displays step-by-step instructions before the young man's eyes on how to properly use the explosive breath of the North. The guy looks at the system window in bewilderment and says that this is very similar to the chi purification technique that he read about in a cultivation novel. Liam asks Sally to quickly tell him how to use the breath as he is being mercilessly pecked by pterosaurs. Sally points to her stomach and tells the hero to concentrate all his energy in one place. The guy tries his best to do as the system says, but the sharp claws of the monsters are already flying at him. Before he can finish what he started, the pterosaur punches Liam in the face, causing him to fall to the ground. After one creature attacks, the entire pack joins in, attacking the opponent's body and trying to peck it to death. The protagonist's eyes look at the pterosaurs with horror as they have pinned him down and now it is difficult for him to move. Sally sighs in disappointment at this pitiful sight, covering her face with her hand. Every time the monsters hit Liam, he remembers how his classmates beat him up when he was still human. The guy's eyes begin to glow a bright blue light, and energy finally concentrates in his mouth. The monster activates the North's explosive breath, its eyes and mouth filling with powerful energy. The energy beam tears the pterosaurs' bodies to pieces. The breath is so strong that it reaches the opposite shore of the island. Liam's eyes fill with happiness. He is glad that he was finally able to use this amazing power. The hero's strength leaves him and he feels hungry again. Looking at the pterosaurs, the guy sees that they are all burnt and covered in ash. With tears in his eyes, the monster begins to eat creatures, simultaneously receiving notifications from the system about the accrual of evolution points. Liam walks across the island in search of a source of water, and after eating, his mouth is covered in ash. When the boy finds water, he sees that his beam has hit a high mountain and made a huge hole in it. The young man looks at a small island in the middle of the lake and says that it looks somehow suspicious. At the same second, a giant cow, Dashan, appears from the water with an island on its back. Liam is frightened by such a huge creature that suddenly floats to the surface. The Dashan cow resembles a mountain because its back and belly are covered with hardened bones. Near Dashan, an imperial crocodile emerges to the surface, frightening a cow with its appearance. The crocodiles begin to surround the cow. One of them bites her on the hind leg. The pack pounces on Dashan and begins to mercilessly attack her from all sides. Eventually, when the emperor crocodiles retreat, all that remains of the cow are bones. The main character, who watched their cruel actions from the side, becomes the creature's new target. Liam smirks and says that he now understands the reason why no one dares to drink from the lake. The crocodile opens its mouth with sharp teeth and quickly moves towards the guy. However, the monster does not manage to reach its goal, because someone's large hand, emerging from the mountain, grabs it by the tail. The hand pulls the crocodile towards itself, causing it to scream in pain. The hero looks in bewilderment at the hole in the mountain that was left by the hands of an unknown person and a crocodile. From the top of the mountain, a huge monster, similar in appearance to a human, lands right on the head of the imperial crocodile. This unknown turns out to be an ancient barbarian ape. Liam stands in shock at what happened, and the monkey happily enjoys its catch. While the barbarian eats, one of the crocodiles, who managed to survive the attack of the ancient species of animal, tries to escape. But the monkey notices the monster and throws another one of his kind at him to knock him down. To make sure that the enemy is defeated, the barbarian jumps on top of him. The monster notices that someone on the shore is closely watching her actions. The monkey starts to get angry, and the hero thinks that for now she is too tough for him, and he won't be able to eat her. Smiling in a friendly manner, the guy greets the monkey and says that he is passing by, but it is time for him to go. Liam is surprised that he was able to say something, but is unsure if the barbarian understood him. Angered by the hero's behavior, the monkey begins to beat on his chest. The monster begins to pursue the fleeing young man, and he, in turn, is surprised that the monkey is so huge. The barbarian attacks the guy fiercely, but he manages to dodge each of her attacks. Liam reflects, looking at the enemy, that the monster has well-developed limbs, but its mind is too simple. The boy realizes that he can't dodge all the time, so he prepares to attack by opening his mouth. The hero grabs the monster's hand and decides that he will first dodge it and then bite it when he has the opportunity. Liam turns around and swings his tail, intending to knock the monkey's center of gravity off. Unable to stay on his feet, the barbarian begins to fall. The guy raises his hand to strike to end this battle. However, the hero forgets one detail. His species' arms are physiologically too short for such an attack. Taking advantage of the monster's confusion, the monkey runs at him with his strong, muscular shoulder. The barbarian knocks Liam down and he falls to the ground. The young man realizes that the monkey is not only stronger than him, but also more agile. His eyes and spikes on the blue begin to sparkle with a blue light. The monster grabs the hero by the growths, not giving the enemy a minute to rest after the fall. Liam turns to the monkey, preparing for his next attack, while thinking that in order to win, he needs to build up energy for his explosive breath. The guy continues to follow his tactics and bites the barbarian on the hand, who screams at him furiously. After the monster is freed, it decides to rip the boy's mouth apart with its power. However, the monkey's face is illuminated by a bright light coming from Liam's mouth. Energy begins to spread throughout the hero's body, like a current that wanders among the spines of his back. An explosive breath forms in the shape of a ball at the end of the monster's mouth and is directed straight towards the barbarian. Seeing Liam's strength, the monkey staggers back, ready to flee. But the guy's tail doesn't let the monster do this. It grabs her leg, immobilizing her for a while. A beam of energy knocks the barbarian off his feet and sends him flying back. The monster is stopped from flying by a high cliff, and a scar is now etched into its belly. Liam's mouth drops open as he marvels at how strong the barbarian's physique is, that he was able to leave only a scar on him. Holding the wound, the monkey looks angrily at the enemy but still decides to retreat. The guy looks at his hands and is glad that he was able to defeat the king of beasts on this island, and therefore now he is the main one here. The trembling but unbroken imperial crocodiles approach the young man, ready to attack. However, Liam easily defeats them and begins to accumulate evolution points. For eating these crocodiles, the hero receives a new skill, increasing armor. A week later, the boy masters a lighter version of explosive breathing to cook his own food over a fire. While enjoying the prepared dish, Liam tells the system that he wants to enter. The entry point is designated as the sea part of Dwayne Island. Upon entering, the young man receives the skill of atomic breathing, which consists of emitting a flame similar to fog. While the boy is happily eating his food, a giant prehistoric rat runs up to him. Liam smiles kindly at his guest and calls her little Mandarin. Together with the rat, they sit on the ground and eat the beef prepared by the hero, and he tells her about his past life as a loser. The monster says that Mandarin is luckier than him because she met him, and he will now be her boss to protect her from dangers. The guy gets to his feet and stretches his body to its full height, which is already 51 meters. Liam flexes his muscles and wonders if he, at his height and weight, can take on a gorilla. Looking at the sky, the young man thinks that he needs to find company for himself because he is sad alone on a desert island. The main character raises his head up and shouts loudly to the whole area that he needs evolution points. Sally happily informs the monster that he currently has 48,000 evolution points. Liam's body begins to glow and increase in mass. However, after looking at his characteristics, the hero notices that he has grown only half a meter in height. Sally explains to the boy that the higher his level, the more points he needs to improve. The guy starts complaining that he will have to eat and improve for too long before he reaches 100 meters. The monster throws a mountain of stones and says that he will go to the barbarian. Finally, the young man finds a lump of wool on the rocks that was left by the monkey. The lump lands in front of Mandarin's nose, and the guy tells her that it's time to work off her food and sleep. Liam asks the rat if he can find the barbarian by scent. The monster promises the little creature that if she finds the gorilla, he will provide her with barbecue for the whole year. After the hero's words, the rat begins to pursue the smell left by the monkey. As he leaves, triumphant sounds are heard behind Liam. The monsters are happy that the god of plague is finally leaving them. The mandarin duck and the protagonist come to a deserted and gloomy area shrouded in fog. The guy crosses his arms over his chest and says that the rat is in the wrong place because no one would live in such a place, but she points to the side in fear. The young man picks up his partner and carries her with him into a dark cave. The monster tries to calm Mandarin down, saying that his monster compass shows nothing and that he doesn't sense any monsters. From the depths of the cave come strange sounds, similar to the roar of a monster. As he goes deeper into the cave, the guy sees a large number of webs, eggs, and cocoons, like in a spider's lair. The guy freezes in place when he sees a girl in front of him, but the system reports that she is the same barbarian monkey. Upon hearing the news that Liam is facing his opponent, whom he so badly wants to defeat, he bursts into loud laughter. The hero approaches the monkey and looks at how much it has shrunk in size, and the wound on its chest has not yet healed. Looking menacingly at the young man, the tied-up girl asks what he is doing here. Liam is surprised that the barbarian can also speak human language. The gorilla yells at the guy to turn around and look behind him. A huge flock of reptiles begins to crawl out of the darkness of the cave, heading towards the heroes. The girl is angry at the monster for not coming earlier. Liam grabs one of the pack, and it turns out to be so small that it fits in the monster's palm. The small reptile opens its mouth, intending to bite the hero on the paw. However, such actions of the creature anger the young man, so he, using a little force, crushes it. Liam begins to be attacked by other members of the pack, one of them grabbing his dorsal growths. The reptile bites the guy on the spike, but it turns out to be too strong, so the creature's mouth crumbles on it. Slowly, other monsters begin to crawl along the hero's back, trying to immobilize him. Liam is irritated by the fact that there are no less than 4 reptiles hanging on his back. All energy is concentrated on its spikes and kills annoying creatures. The girl looks at the guy's strength in shock as she has become many times stronger. After the victory, the guy screams throughout the cave in disgust, as sticky reptilian mucus remains on his growths. One of the surviving creatures decides to sneak up on the tied-up monkey girl, but the monster is immediately noticed and trampled by Liam's huge foot. To finally get rid of all the unpleasant creatures, the guy uses the explosive breath of the north. Liam turns to the girl and tells her not to worry about the monsters, calling her sis. The guy puts his huge fingernail to the slime holding her and starts to clean the goo away. While the hero frees her, his gaze falls on her chest where a scar is visible. Stepping back awkwardly, the young man looks away and asks the monkey how she became human. Eventually, the barbarian frees himself and jumps down. The girl picks up a large bone and swings it at the rock. Liam thinks she is looking for a weapon to protect herself. The monster raises his hands and tries to calm her down, saying that he never bullies the weak. The gorilla lifts up some kind of fruit that has a golden sheen. The girl gestures that he needs to be eaten in order to become a human being. The guy reaches out his hands to the fruit and asks in amazement if this is really the same devil fruit. Liam and the monkey come out of the cave and the guy decides to show her a miracle. By activating the North's explosive breath, the hero lights a fire. The young man looks with disgust at the reptile being cooked on the fire, thinking that this disgusting thing can only be eaten for evolution points. The gorilla looks at the huge piece of cooked meat with great appetite, as it smells very tasty. The girl and the mouse look happily at the meat when Liam treats them. The hero takes his first bite and confirms that it tastes much better than it looks. Still not finishing his meal, the boy turns to the girl and asks her why she didn't turn into a barbarian in the cave to protect herself from the reptiles. The monkey raises its head and says that it can no longer transform. Liam begins to wonder what kind of fruit it was. The guy starts to worry, because the girl probably has a family, parents, brothers, and she was almost eaten by reptiles. The hero frowns, thinking that the girl might not live to see the next day. Liam asks Sally if he can turn a man back into a gorilla, to which he replies in the affirmative. However, the system says that first he must analyze the composition of the fruit that the girl ate. The guy is happy about the good news, and Sally explains that when he changes the composition, the monkey will be able to turn from a gorilla into a human and back. Hearing that the girl will have the ability to transform from one form to another, Liam is happy, because he may have a chance to meet his parents again. The hero turns to the barbarian and asks her where the place with these devilish fruits is. The girl replies that it is a cliff. The young man says that when they have eaten their fill, the monkey will take them to that place, and he will help her return to her original form. Liam receives a system notification that he has been awarded 20,000 points for eating a dead, rotten reptile. The monster reflects that if he is not on Earth now, then he is somewhere in a parallel world, and when he becomes a human, he will be able to live happily with the girl on this island. 2 hours later, the heroes come to the cliff indicated by the girl. A huge number of human bones are scattered on the ground. The girl points to the top of the cliff, where a tree grows with fruits that turn monsters into people. Although the fruits grow like apples, they look more like mushrooms. The guy pretends to roll up his sleeves and starts getting ready to climb. A pterosaur starts circling above the tree. Liam exhales and hopes that it won't attack him. The monster's eyes glow bright red and it flies forward predatorily. The young man clenches his teeth and thinks irritably that he was right. However, the pterosaur's target was not Liam, but the fruit of that very tree. The creature's body begins to glow with an orange-yellow light, and its eyes widen as its body is completely rebuilt. The monster turns into a well-built man with a mohawk on his head. The converted loses the ability to fly, causing them to fall from great heights to the ground. Liam now realizes that the pile of bones was formed because the monsters turned into people and crashed to the ground. Having driven away thoughts about the tree's victims, the young man decides to quickly pick the tree's fruits and leave here. However, the hero does not have time to climb to the top of the cliff, as his path is blocked by a huge bird. The creature turns out to be a bird of death, whose appearance is almost always accompanied by death. Death looms over the tree, and Liam assumes that it is its guardian. The guy turns his head in the direction the monster is looking. It seems to him as if she is smiling, looking at the bones of people. The bird does not try to attack the heroes, but only looks at them without looking away. The young man shouts to the bird that he came because his friend told him about the incredible taste of the fruit. Liam reaches into the tree to pick a couple of samples to study their composition. However, the bird takes off and flies down, but bypasses the heroes, flying past. The guy hands over the fruits to the system so that it can enter them into the database and begin to research them. Sally says he can do it, but he needs 100,000 evolution points to do it. But the boy only has 93. The guy is angry with himself that he previously spent points on improvement and now cannot conduct the analysis. Death flies past the hero once again, hitting his back with its sharpened claws. The young man waves his tail to keep the bird away. The feathered one wants to make another attack, but freezes, and they see that the monster's mouth is emitting a blue glow. Liam uses the breath of the north to ignite her body. The main character hits the bird's right wing, which immediately bursts into a bright flame. Death tries to stay in the air, but the wing stops working and she flies down. The fire goes out before the bird touches the ground, and it soars upward again. Liam realizes that his breathing trick won't work anymore, so he jumps onto the bird's back. The young man saddles the bird of death and bites into its neck, causing it to scream. The bird angrily rushes towards the ground to gain speed and then flies upward. The bird, like a rocket, gains such enormous speed that it seems as if it is cutting through the air. Liam looks down and is happy that he was finally able to fly, because in his previous life he never flew on an airplane. The death bird changes its direction again and now flies straight towards the cliff. The guy starts to cry from the crazy speed, and he shouts to the bird that she's about to crash into a rock. The hero looks to the side and manages to notice that there is a large lake not far from them. The monster decides to time it right and use his breath to jump into the lake. Liam directs his power into the bird's back and it is pushed upward. The monster begins to fall down, and the monkey in human form tries with all his might to hold on to its rough skin. The feathered one with a burnt back crashes straight into the rock. Due to a strong shock, all the fruits begin to fall from the tree. The death bird does not stay in the wall for long and lands on the ground along with the fruits. The monster and the man successfully swim to the surface of the lake. Liam is triumphant, saying that they will have fried chicken for dinner tonight. From somewhere above, a devil fruit falls into his mouth, but the hero does not immediately understand this. The hero's throat starts to ache from the unusual taste. The guy starts to fidget anxiously and finally realizes what it was. Liam's body lights up orange and begins to change. The monster turns into a man with a muscular and toned body, hair, as in his past life, ash-colored. However, when the hero turns around, he notices that not all of the monster's body parts are gone, and a smaller version of the tail remains. The hero dives into the lake and looks suspiciously at the bird's body, since it may be alive, and then it will be unsafe for him to leave the water. The bird of death begins to rise, dropping human skulls in the process. Liam looks at her in shock, because he didn't expect the bird to actually survive. The feathered one holds the body of a recently deceased pterosaur in its beak. But then he throws the man out, seeing a green crystal in front of him. The bird eats it, and its body begins to glow green and regenerate. The bird of death spreads its wings and flies away. The young man breathes a sigh of relief, but is still sad that he won't be able to eat the bird. While the heroes are swimming underwater, Liam thinks about how they need to quickly find a safe place and get some food. The girl comes out of the water and warns the guy that there is danger behind him. An imperial crocodile swims rapidly behind the main character. The crocodile opens its huge mouth bloodthirstily to eat its prey. The guy manages to dodge the monster and tells him that attacking from behind is not nice. The crocodile's fellows do not keep you waiting and begin to surround the victim. Liam says he wants to turn into a monster again, so he starts rowing vigorously with his hands. However, the ash-haired man is stopped by a huge crocodile blocking his escape route. Realizing that he is surrounded, the hero decides to fight the crocodile. The guy covers the monster's mouth with his body, since the crocodile's weak spot is the lower jaw. The young man smiles confidently and is glad that he used his wits in time. The imperial crocodile tries to throw off the opponent by spinning from side to side. Liam thinks about what to do, because if he lets the monster go, he will be eaten. If he doesn't let go, the crocodile will be torn to pieces by those running behind him. Someone from above is trying to attract the hero's attention. This person turns out to be a monkey. She throws a vine and tells you to grab onto it. Liam struggles to reach the vine and the monsters are almost upon him. The crocodile opens its mouth, ready to eat its victim. But Liam successfully grabs onto the makeshift rope. The girl lands successfully on dry land. But the guy's legs were not ready for such a quick encounter with the ground, causing him to fall. The barbarian beats his chest, proud of his actions, and the ash-haired man jokes that he was saved by a Tarzan cosplayer. The enraged crocodile jumps out of the water, not intending to let the heroes go. The heroes immediately jump away from the monster and it crashes its teeth into a tree. The monkey loudly screams inarticulate sounds at the monster, attracting its attention. Liam is shocked by her actions and tells her not to anger the crocodile even more. The guy grabs the gorilla by the hand and pulls her along, warning her not to fall behind if she doesn't want to be eaten. While they are running away, the hero ponders what he did to displease the imperial crocodiles. Sally appears in front of her owner and laughs at him for his size. Near tears, Liam asks the system if he can borrow evolution points to study the fruit, but is denied. The young man sheds tears, begging Sally to abandon her principles, as he is in no condition to eat monsters now. The systemic being only throws up his hands, saying that the owner is left to his own devices and he cannot help him in any way. The hero tries to play on pity, saying that because of his nakedness he becomes even more appetizing. Then Sally decides to give the owner a skin for free. The guy is wearing a black and blue suit with spikes on the shoulders. The monkey overtakes the ash-haired man and jumps up a tree, using his well-developed agility. The girl shouts at Liam to come up, but he hesitates as he was always afraid of climbing trees in his past life. Gritting his teeth, the guy decides to ignore his fears and try to do it. Ash-haired jumps high and grabs the bark with his hands, avoiding the crocodile's mouth. The guy is surprised that he was able to climb the tree, but he understands that it is not because of adrenaline. The thing is that Liam's physical condition is significantly different from the past. However, the crocodile does not give up again and begins to beat his body against the tree, shaking it. The protagonist's foot slips and he begins to fall down. Liam is saved again by the gorilla, who grabs his arm and calls him a complete fool. The young man smiles awkwardly and thanks his little sister for saving him. The heroes without victims continue their climb upward. Finally, the people find themselves on a huge tree branch. On the ground, a pack of crocodiles are still waiting for the girl and the guy, beating against a tree. Liam smirks smugly at the sight and chuckles at their attempts to throw them off the branch. The monkey looks at the young man with curiosity, and he asks her what is bothering her. Smiling sweetly, the girl asks the ash-haired man if he wants to train with her. However, the next second, the red-haired woman's face changes, and she grabs the hero by the hands. The monkey pulls the shocked guy behind his back, continuing to growl at someone. Liam understands that the girl does not want to quarrel with him, as he thought, but wants to protect him from impending danger. A prehistoric giant python, 70 meters long, climbs onto the hero's branch. The main character angrily shouts at the system that its compass shows every minute that the enemy is stronger than him, but not about the approach of danger. The guy smiles awkwardly at the python and asks why it looks at him like that, since the young man hasn't eaten one of its kind yet. The converted people do not dare to confront the snake, so they run away from it as fast as they can, jumping through the trees. During the escape, Liam gets the idea to throw the transformation fruit into the python's mouth, so he asks the system to give it to him. Sali warns the owner that in order to obtain the fruit, he must pay 100,000 evolution points. The system being tells the master that even if he had these glasses, he would have to wait for the program to synthesize the item to be completed. The guy complains about the system, saying that it has too many flaws, and he will complain to the developers. The hero stops swearing because the snake has gone around them between the trees, and now its mouth is moving straight towards the girl who was hit. Liam pushes the redhead away, thereby saving her from being eaten and condemning himself to death. The girl screams in horror, realizing that the young man sacrificed himself. The snake swallows the guy, and he ends up inside its food system. The hero begins to feel sick from the terrible smell, but he's still glad that the action of the gastric juice has not yet begun. Ash-haired decides to test whether his powers will work in human form. First, he activates the Breath of the North. Sally begins to stop the guy, saying that if he continues, he will die due to the difference in the body structure of a monster and a human. The system warns that he won't be able to shoot his breath through the python's body, but the energy will improve his ability to swallow and bite. The guy asks again if he understood correctly that if he eats the python's insides now, he will receive evolution points. The charged young man says that despite the animal's disgusting appearance, he will eat it because it is a monster. However, from the very first bite, Liam begins to feel sick because the taste is reminiscent of socks that haven't been washed for a week. The system sends a message that 150 evolution points were awarded for eating the monster. Ash-haired begins to absorb the prehistoric python at high speed and earn points. From the internal pain, the snake began to writhe, not understanding what was happening. The hero begins to be thrown from one side to the other because of the python, which began to wriggle from the guy's actions. But Liam doesn't give up and continues to eat the prehistoric creature. The young man notices that his feet are sinking into the monster's entrails. The python has decided to spit him out. Laughing evilly, the main character prevents this from happening, grabbing onto the walls. Sally shares the good news that she has finally accumulated 100,000 evolution points. The guy says to start synthesizing the transformation fruit, but the system says it will take about 30 minutes. Liam demands that the system speed up the process. Sally says that he can speed it up by 20% for 1,000 evolution points. Ash-haired grabs the system creature and says that he can't be that obsessed with glasses. Rubbing his cheeks, Sally replies that evolution points are like gasoline to him, so he can't live without them. And the young man, crying, begins to eat the python. The guy only has 20%, so he continues to torture the snake from the inside. Finally, the guy reaches 100%. A green fruit appears from the system window, symbolizing the salvation of life, while the red one meant the transformation of the body. Liam begins to eat the fruit, saying it is tasty but a little bitter. The main character exhales victoriously, having finally finished the huge fruit. The guy gets into a heroic pose and shouts the word transformation. The hero's hair stands on end and lightning flies around him. However, this is where it all ends and nothing more happens to the young man. Sally begins to explain that upon analysis, he discovered that the energy in the fruit does not belong to this world. Now this energy should condense in the monster's crystalline core, and Liam should clearly feel it in his body. The system being tells the master to use his mind to destroy this core, but the boy doubts his words. The hero still decides to trust and sits in the lotus position, beginning to meditate. Liam imagines the little people inside his body running through the energy channels in search of the crystal core. Finally, the young man reaches him but does not understand how he should strike him. Ash-haired remembers physical education classes where they were taught the correct technique for throwing a shot. But then the hero only knew the theoretical part well, and he always had problems with the physical part. Standing next to the crystal in his mind, Liam shatters it into many pieces. The python's body suddenly increases in size, causing its eyes to roll back. A descendant of Kui bursts out of the snake, tearing it apart. The monkey jumps up happily when he sees his new ally. The imperial crocodiles look at the monster in fear, realizing that they have lost their advantage. Liam stretches his massive body towards the sky and raises his arms up, screaming that he is finally back. The young man's eyes glow with a bright blue fire, and he begins to sneer at the crocodiles, calling them reptiles. After some time, a mountain of crocodiles lies in front of the main character. While Mandarin and the monkey are making a hut for the fire, the boy tells them how dangerous it was to turn into a human and that he will not do it again. Liam blows on the fire, activating explosive breath, and does not tense up at all, saying that he feels much more comfortable in the monster's body. The girl jumps with all her might to get the monster's attention and asks him why he returned to this form and became much bigger than last time. Key's descendant laughs at the question and tells the gorilla that he has grown bigger because he eats right and follows a regimen. The guy gives the heroes a fried crocodile, which makes them start drooling. The monster roasts the python's body for himself, for which he receives the monster's fruit of life as a reward. The system suggests that the monster's life source is inside this fruit, but Liam says that it is just a bitter gourd. Sally says that even though it looks like a pumpkin, it can heal any injury, even a fatal one. The young man says that he doesn't care whether it is the fruit of life or not. He eats it because he hates bitter gourd. However, the monster does not want to throw it away, so he decides to give it to the monkey so that the wound on his chest can heal. With an innocent face, Liam asks the girl to try the fruit he hands her. The redhead eats it with gusto without question. When a gorilla swallows a small portion of the fruit of life, it suddenly becomes nauseous and its pupils constrict in shock. The monkey falls to his knees and complains about the bitter taste of what Liam gave him. However, when the bitterness passes, the girl feels that the wound on her chest no longer hurts. The wound glows green and completely disappears from the body. Seeing the effect of the fruit, the redhead eats it completely, stuffing both cheeks. Beating on her chest, the joyful monkey shouts that she is overwhelmed with strength. Liam leans over to her and tells her that if she didn't keep hitting her ribcage, the wound would have healed long ago. The girl says that whenever she meets a monster, she starts screaming and hitting herself, because sometimes it helps to avoid a fight. The guy decides to ask the girl why the barbarian didn't beat him up during their first meeting. The monkey says it's because he waved his hand at her, and that meant to her that he was giving up. The young man reflects that in the world of monsters, the rules are quite simple. If you don't scream to defend your territory, you'll have to fight. The boy smiles thoughtfully, wondering what would happen if he growled, whether everyone else would realize that he was the strongest. Getting more and more lost in thought, the guy begins to imagine what will happen if he shows his opponent's explosive breath. Liam gives the gorilla another roasted king crocodile to help it gain evolution points faster and turn back into a monster. The monster decides to ask the girl one more thing: how she managed to avoid meeting the bird of death and pick the fruit. The redhead begins to explain that she was very hungry then, so she decided to pick some fruit. However, then the monkey suddenly turned into a man and began to fall down. The guy blushes, imagining the state the gorilla looked in as it fell from the mountain. But his dirty thoughts are stopped by a bone that flies into his head, the sender of which is, of course, the red-haired one. The girl continues her story and says that she was able to grab onto a rock protruding from the cliff in time. A rotten reptile flies out from the girl's side at high speed. Redhead crawls along the rock and sees small reptiles fighting with the deathbird. Then the monkey noticed that the green creatures were winning because the bird's head was almost bald. The hero thinks angrily about the bird, but says that the enemy of the enemy is the best friend, and thinks about establishing contact with the bird. The girl says that the strange bird then managed to fight off the reptiles. However, the green monster's next target was the monkey, and they caught it. After hearing the story, Liam wonders why the monsters didn't just eat her when they caught her. The barbarian says that they wanted to sacrifice her to their king. The young man opens his mouth and says in shock that the reptiles wanted to make her the wife of their leader. The girl cringes with fear and anger. She tries to close herself off by crossing her arms. The gorilla says that this island used to be beautiful, and that she lived there with her family, her mom and dad. But at some point, reptiles appeared, ate away all the vegetation, and destroyed all the life force of the island. The guy frowns and remembers what the area looked like near the hideout of those monsters. The monkey says that her parents and several other species then united against a common enemy, but no one returned from the battle. The barbarian continued her parents' work and protected the island. She wanted to find the lair of those monsters. The girl starts to cry from the memories, but the main character tries to calm her down, saying that she is like a little sister to him. Liam says that this island is like a second home to him, so he will not allow it to be destroyed. The main character walks across the island and notices a pack of spiny jackals, with hard, bony spikes protruding from their backs. A group of jackals attacks a large ground sloth. The sloth rises up on its hind legs and pushes back the monster that was attacking it. The jackal, thrown aside by the sloth, ends up right in Liam's mouth. The guy eats the prey that has arrived and thinks that he will still eat the participants of this fight. The jackals surrounded the sloth and began to tear out its fur. However, he scatters them all and rushes towards the main character at great speed. The young man hides in the shadow of a tree, waiting for his opponent. The guy's tail throws the sloth off balance and it starts to fall. Liam victoriously bites off a body part from the monster, earning evolution points. The hero is drooling over the delicious sloth meat. While Kui's descendant is enjoying his food, a pack of jackals approaches him. One of the group jumps on the monster from above, intending to attack from a blind spot. However, the jackal is immediately caught by the monster's huge mouth. Liam's eyes turn red, and he rejoices at the large number of points for the small creature. The pack attacks the guy from different sides. The monster manages to catch all the enemies, not giving them a chance to win. One of the jackals climbs straight towards the girl, causing her to start shaking with fear. She turns to face her attacker and prepares to fight, raising a shaking fist. Liam removes the gorilla from his shoulder, saving it from danger, but gets bitten through the body in the process. Preparing to attack by activating his power, the boy thanks the girl for wanting to help him, but says that he does not need to be protected. The guy uses the breath of the north and all the monsters fall to the ground. The jackals look at the hero with fear, seeing how he begins to eat their own kind one after another. The flock raises their heads to the sky and simultaneously begins to howl at the hero. Key's descendant merely laughs at the group's behavior and says that they are next. The leader of the spiny jackals walks with his pack towards the hero. Liam immediately understands that this is the leader of the monsters and will give the most evolution points. The guy sits down on the ground and decides, as a sign of respect to the leader, to finish eating his fellow wolf right in front of his eyes. The boss gets angry at the monster's behavior and starts attacking the enemy. The young man crosses his arms over his chest and asks the jackal why he is so furious just over food. Liam opens his huge mouth, making the leader look very small in comparison. The boy eats another jackal, ordering the chief not to interfere with his eating. The jackal freezes in surprise when he sees the size of this monster. The leader of the spiny jackals begins to grind his teeth with anger. He is irritated that he was looked down upon all the time, and he underestimated his opponent. The jackal's claws rush towards its prey, which at this time is enjoying its food. However, the spiky one is then knocked down by Kui, who rises up on his hind legs, happily shouting that he has finally scored 100,000 points. Clenching his fist, the guy triumphantly says that he can now begin the transformation process and spend the remaining points on acceleration. The guy looks at the trembling girl sitting on his shoulder. The monkey feels that she is in a critical condition, and the hero is not sure if she will be able to withstand the 18 minutes of loading. The young man angrily tells the jackals that it is because of them that he has lost so much time. Liam finds someone who can help him speed up the transformation process. The leader again tries to attack the enemy, putting his paws forward. However, his attempt immediately fails and he is caught in the monster's mouth in mid-flight. The jackal begins to howl from pain and resentment that he was so easily captured by the enemy. Liam swings his arm and throws the head onto the ground at high speed. The leader of the pack injures his paw, and blood from the wound begins to flow non-stop on his back. The jackal growls at the monster, showing that he can still fight. But this only angers the hero, because the gorilla told him that fighting for territory and food is a common thing. Liam yells at the spiny one to stop disturbing him, a gourmet from enjoying his catch. The jackal is thrown back with his shoulder, causing tears to appear in his eyes. Landing hard, the leader grits his teeth, growls and looks angrily at the enemy. Liam's mouth begins to build up energy for one last finishing attack. The leader sees such power for the first time, and so he can only look at the hero in bewilderment. The young man activates the North's explosive breath, which hits the spiked one straight. The jackal survives the attack, but all of his fur is burned off and he is now completely naked. The head sheds a lonely tear, saying goodbye to his beautiful fur. The pack comes to the aid of their leader, standing before him. The guy smiles mockingly that a group of jackals decided to defend their king to the last. However, the hero is confused by the fact that he can still hear someone howling. Not far from Liam, a wolf general settled on a rock, having come to the aid of his fellows. The descendant of Kui flinches when he sees the new arrival and asks why he has a huge sword on his back. A huge jackal, 50 meters tall, gracefully walks between his pack, which bows before him. Liam thinks with irritation that the new enemy cannot be taken lightly. The general's gaze stops on the girl, who is suffering from severe pain. The young man does not understand why the jackal is looking intently not at him, but at the monkey. The general begins to rush towards the enemy, his eyes lighting up with yellow flames and his mouth opening wide to attack the barbarian. Liam manages to dodge and asks the chieftain why he has a sword on his back. The jackal does not react to any of the monster's words and scratches his face with his claws. The young man realizes that the general pretended to attack the gorilla in order to distract him. Spiky runs up again aiming for the monster's shoulder. The protagonist understands that this is not just a distraction for him, but the jackal knows his weak spot for attack. The guy's face is now adorned with a wound from the leader's claws. And then Liam finally realizes that the spiky one is much smarter than him. The descendant of Kui shouts that he is the owner of the island, and it belongs to him. The young man throws the bones of dead jackals with his tail. However, the general manages to jump away from the shells flying at him. Liam yells at the jackal to look at him and begins to build up energy in his mouth. However, the general saw what this force could do to him, using the example of his fellow countrymen. The wolf manages to jump away from the blast of explosive breath, but it still hits his front paw, The guy grins at the jackal and tells him that they have a draw. The general uses trees to increase his jump. Meanwhile, in the air, the jackal takes out his sword to attack with it now. The hero's eyes widen as he didn't expect the wolf to actually use the weapon. The general stabs the monster in the right shoulder with his blade and lands on the ground. Liam tries to cover the wound and stop the bleeding, but it continues to flow. Realizing that he will not be able to fight now due to his wounds and the advantage of the leader, the descendant of Kui decides to flee from the battlefield. The guy looks at the monkey with concern, saying that he will definitely help her, and then they will be able to fight against the wolf together. The young man warns the barbarian to stay in the tree and wait for his return. A jackal will attack the monster from behind, leaving a deep wound on its left leg. The gorilla understands that he should not interfere with the hero's fight, and therefore climbs higher up the tree as quickly as possible. After the attack, the guy crashes into a tree next to the girl, and his eyes begin to glow blue. Liam uproots a tree from the ground and throws it at the wolf, using it as a weapon. The boy catches up with the jackal between the trees and is about to attack him again with explosive breath. The head falls with half of its body under the north beam. The wolf is knocked off his feet but still manages to turn over and land on all fours. The monster growls at the jackal because he understands that his strength cannot penetrate his thick and tough skin. Liam rushes towards his enemy, intending to land another critical hit and force him to let go of his sword. The leader of the pack attacks Kui's descendant from behind, trying to help the general. While the hero is distracted by the bald jackal, the 50-meter wolf jumps up. The sword flies past the monster's face, but it successfully deflects it. Liam is angry that the jackals thought of uniting. The guy shouts at his opponents that they have lost their honor since they decided to attack one person with two. A flock of birds flies overhead above the battle. The deathbird looks at the battle of the monsters with devilish eyes. The bird's gaze catches sight of a man huddled in a ball on the branches of a tree. Death smiles slyly at his discovery. The bird flies straight towards the monkey, opening its beak to catch it. The girl notices the approaching enemy in time and manages to jump from the branch. Liam notices the gorilla is in danger. The barbarian hides on the ground between fallen trees, covering his ears and eyes. The guy tries to shout to the monkey to warn him that the bird is nearby. However, the monster is attacked by wolves. One bites him on the neck. The other makes a wound on his stomach with a sword. The hero's thoughts are filled with the girl. He tells himself that he will not allow anything to happen to her. The young man runs towards his friend, but enemies are already flying at him from behind. The general stabs Liam's body with his weapon, and blood begins to spurt out. The guy finds himself surrounded by enemies again. Energy begins to emerge from the hero's growths in the form of lightning. Gritting his teeth, Liam tells them they're caught. The descendant of Kui was just waiting for the general to be near his thorns, so that he could take advantage of the breath of the north. The electric charge throws the wolf to the ground, injuring his entire body. The boy turns to the leader of the pack and says that now it is his turn. Liam bites off the leader's head and gets the desired evolution points. Now the formation process has accelerated to 89%. The general watches in shock as his ally is eaten by the monster. Sally asks the owner if she wants the fruit to be removed immediately after the process is completed, to which the hero immediately answers positively. A green fruit appears above the monster's palm. Liam throws it to the monkey and yells at it to eat it faster. The fruit falls in front of the girl, but the bird of death is already hanging over her. The gorilla takes the fruit and starts eating it quickly. The bird opens its beak to grab its prey and finally eat it. The guy shouts at the barbarian to hurry up and transform herself faster using the method he recently taught her. The girl stretches her hand forward to focus her energy in it. The bird smirks at the monkey's actions, thinking that it is reaching out to it. However, the next moment the bird's head is touched by a giant gorilla's hand. The hand landed on the bird's face with such great speed that it threw death aside. The barbarian finally turns fully and pounds his powerful, firm chest. The girl looks at her monkey hands and joyfully screams that she has turned back into a monster. The gorilla looks at the rising bird and remembers the guy's words about negotiating with the bird about the reptiles. The monster decides to conduct the conversation herself and jumps high into the air, heading towards the bird. The barbarian lands on the bird's back, slamming it deep into the ground. The girl begins to pound her fists on death, and with each blow ask it if it wants to be their friend. The bird doesn't like the monster's proposal, so it starts spinning from side to side, throwing it off. Quickly flapping its wings, the bird tries to hide from the monkey as quickly as possible. The gorilla is initially angry that he escaped, but then an idea comes to her mind. The barbarian picks up a lying tree and aims straight at the bird. The girl throws a tree at the bird, but he dodges and yells at her, asking who makes friends like that. With a sword sticking out of his neck, the boy turns around at the sound of the bird, asking if it seemed to him that death was cursing at the gorilla. Liam decides not to interfere in the fight between the bird and the monkey, focusing on his fight. But the wolf just stands there, looking through him. The barbarian is reflected in the wolf's eyes. He cannot tear his gaze away from her. Smiling, the boy waves his hand to attract the general's attention. He asks him if he will continue to fight without a sword. In an instant, the jackal's eyes change and begin to glow yellow again, and he jumps on Liam. The young man is wounded again from the front, and he thinks that the wolf is not at all exhausted, since its speed and agility have not decreased. The jackal's goal is to return the sword, but Kui's descendant is not going to give it up, because he has put too much effort into it. The guy feels that his body is starting to get tired and not obey, but he still fights off the enemy's attack. The general falls to the ground with a loud sound, causing even the monkey to turn around. However, sensing the bird approaching, the gorilla turns back. Liam looks at the sword sticking out of his chest and realizes that it's still difficult to fight in this position. The jackal sneaks up on the monster and jumps on its back, trying to get his sword. The gorilla is distracted again when he hears that his savior is in trouble. The bird takes advantage of this and injures the opponent's back. Frowning, the boy asks the jackal why he got so close to his back. The general remembers his previous mistake when he was lured into a trap and fried. The wolf tries his best to run away as far as possible so as not to get even more injured. Liam does not interrupt the activation of the explosive breath, reassuring the monster that he's not a target. The real target turns out to be a bird that has injured the monkey with its sharp claws. The beam of energy carries the bird very high, and along the way it screams why it always gets it. As he bleeds, the boy reflects that the weak little chicken he was is no more, as he did everything to protect his only friend. The gorilla runs worriedly towards his friend, who is shaking with fatigue. Realizing that Liam needs help, the barbarian jumps on top of the attacking jackal. The wolf is slammed into the ground by the girl's fists. The jackal breaks free from the enemy's grasp and jumps to the side. Having caught his breath a little, the general runs to attack the gorilla. The wolf bites his opponent's left leg and blood begins to spurt out. The barbarian only gets more angry and punches the monster but hits the ground. The general jumps into a tree to push off from it and attack the gorilla again. Now the jackal's mouth closes on the girl's hand. The monkey looks at his opponent in surprise, realizing that he is truly strong and smart. Liam watches the battle with narrowed eyes, not understanding how the monster manages to maintain a good pace after 2 battles. The boy remembers the pack of jackals that were nearby recently and realizes that the general continued to fight to let them escape. The wolf finally lets go of the gorilla's hand when she aims a fist at his face. The jackal leaves the girl and runs straight towards the exhausted monster. The young man understands that the general himself did not intend to run away, but decided to find out the barbarian's weak points and attack the hero. However, the spiky one does not manage to reach his goal as he is grabbed by the tail. The gorilla, angry at the escape, reminds the monster that she is his enemy. The girl spins the general in the air, holding him by the tail the whole time. Then the barbarian releases the jackal into flight, directing it into a tree. The wolf hits a tree trunk painfully at high speed. The general's eyes express only anger and hatred, but not hopelessness. Liam doesn't understand why the jackal still won't give up when he's so badly injured. And then the guy realizes that it's all about the sword because it was able to pierce his skin, which means it's very valuable and the wolf wanted to take it. The young man remembers how the wolf behaves consciously in battle, which means that there is a drop of human intelligence in him. Then Liam decides to end this battle in a more humane way, like a human. Kui's descendant shouts for the general and the gorilla to stop fighting. The monster asks the jackal that he understands him and offers to discuss something, but the monkey is outraged by the guy's actions, saying that she almost won. The protagonist justifies the suspension of the battle by the fact that the wolf did not take anything from the girl, and she agrees with this. Liam muses that the gorilla only understands him because of the fruit he ate, but the wolf does this without him, meaning that he once came into contact with humans. The guy offers the wolf to return his sword in exchange for their paths never crossing again. The jackal looks at the monster with disbelief, because this proposal is rather suspicious. To prove his sincerity, the young man asks his friend to help him pull out the sword. The monkey begins to take out his weapon, but blood begins to spurt from the wound. Liam screams in incredible pain, asking the monkey if it wants him to bleed to death. The general suddenly throws his head back and begins to howl loudly. The hero looks at the jackal with confusion and fear because of his actions. Apparently, the thorn did this to show how to cauterize a wound. Kai's descendant slams his fist into his palm and says how he himself didn't realize that soil can stop bleeding. Frowning, the hero shows the barbarian what and how she needs to do to help him. Without a moment's hesitation, the gorilla pulls out the jackal's sword and covers the wound with soil. With a trembling voice, the boy tells the leader of the pack that he is returning his sword and hopes for an honest fulfillment of their agreement. The monkey throws a sword to the beast and it flies towards him, plunging its blade into the ground. The jackal quickly grabs the hilt of the sword and runs into the forest. An unfamiliar figure of a girl is looking at the wolf, hiding behind a tree. The blonde crosses her legs and says that if she can't take the monkey's spiritual core, then she will take the jackal's core. Exhausted after a long and difficult battle, the guy falls to the ground. The gorilla is worried and suggests cauterizing the wound on his stomach with soil, but she doesn't take into account the fact that the soil must be clean, as it contains a lot of worms. The young man stops the girl and says that he just needs to replenish his energy reserves. The monkey tells Liam not to go anywhere and says that he will find them some food now. The barbarian decides to cook jackal shashlik, but the guy stops her, saying that she doesn't know how to cook. The gorilla reaches out to the almost ready food, but she grabs it not by the stick, but by the body of the victim itself. Because of this, one of the girl's hands begins to blaze with fire. Liam looks at the dropped food, saying it looks terrible, but eats it anyway to get evolution points. Only the gorilla, who eats nonstop, enjoys the taste. The hero receives a notification about the automatic deduction of points for the treatment of the body. The guy looks at his body, on which there is no longer a single scratch. While the young man eats, he thinks about how he must become invincible. Liam realizes that when the barbarian's parent went missing, they were not fighting alone, but still lost. That's why the monster is going to accumulate evolution points to improve and help the monkey develop its strength. Suddenly, the hero remembers the bird of death and asks where it disappeared to. His friend points out the place where it fell. Throwing down the food, Liam happily runs in the direction indicated, saying that since the bird hasn't moved for so long, maybe he'll be able to eat it. When the heroes run to the scene, they find no one there. The guy says that this is impossible, because then they would see the bird fly away. Suddenly, Sally appears and says that he felt energy fluctuations, meaning the monster is turning into a human. Liam is very surprised and asks if the bird is the culprit of these vibrations. After thinking about it, the young man agrees that this could have happened, but the fruits of transformation are now only in Sally's possession, but he denies his involvement in this. The system reminds that during the first encounter with the bird, she extracted the green core from the birdsaurus and was completely healed. Sally says that perhaps this method of healing is similar to his master's principle of eating the flesh of monsters. A monkey watches Liam from the side, wondering if his friend hit his head during the battle, since he can't see the system creature. The young man crosses his arms over his chest and asks Sally if the bird can then perfect its form, just like him. The system replies that it will only find out after analyzing her body, and to do this it needs the owner to kill the bird. The hero says he doesn't know how to do it, so Sally suggests that he get at least a part of the bird's body. Liam calls to the monkey, saying that they need to return to his territory as there is almost no food left on it. Smiling smugly, the guy imagines the faces of the monsters who then happily sent him away. A week later, the heroes, together with Mandarin, began to live under the same roof, in a cave, and almost every morning the barbarian lays out and prepares food. While rummaging through the food, the young man finds the spiders he asked not to catch and throws them away. The hero explains this by saying that although the spider's poison does not affect them, they cannot give the same taste that can be enjoyed. Finally, the guy sits down in front of the fire and leans against the stones, anticipating that they will now have a delicious meal. Liam thinks it would be a good idea to teach the monkey how to make a fire so he doesn't have to do it himself every time. The hero snaps his fingers and tells the system that he wants to enter, and the entry point is designated as the dense forest located on this island. Shedding a tear, the young man rejoices at the new reward, a rank, a battle roar, since he had not received any login skills for the past month. Sally sets off a firecracker and congratulates her owner on registering in the system exactly 1 month ago. The system creature says that Liam is being given a gift pack of power-ups containing special items. For daily login, the guy gets a system shopping center and 300,000 evolution points. The guy's eyes sparkle with such news, and he says to open a shopping center for him as soon as possible. Sally grows in size and opens her huge mouth, which releases goods. One of the featured products, the thunder fruit from the Pirate King's world, can turn the body into a thunderstorm. Another product, the yin and yang fruit from the yin and yang world, is able to easily identify the weaknesses of opponents in battle. And the titanium mechanism from the titanium world creates titanium armor around the host's body. The hero confidently thinks that since he was given 300,000 points, he will be able to buy all 3 items at once. However, the monster's eyes widen at the prices, because the cheapest product costs 100 million evolution points. Sally says that he knocked off a couple more million, although express deliveries are exorbitantly expensive because all the goods are from parallel worlds. The system says that these products are in the most expensive category, so you need to swipe your finger across the screen to get to the universal class section.